What's up? It's Caleb. Have you ever heard something over and over and over and over again? Maybe it's something your teacher says all the time, or your best friend's new catchphrase, like, oh, love this, love you. It's like, oh my gosh, you know those people. They always be commenting on Instagram, any post, doesn't matter what it is, just, oh, love this, love you. But maybe your mom or dad says the same thing to you every morning on your way out the door. My mom always said, don't do anything stupid. She really did. Or your little brother has told you his favorite joke like 10 times in the last 2 days, and he's just like, knock, knock. It's like, boy, I will knock, knock. Maybe it's gossip that just spread around your school like wildfire, or some kind of news that's blowing up on social media. You heard it over and over and over and over and over again because somebody thought it was worth repeating, retelling, or reposting. They thought it was so memorable or funny or exciting or important that they just had to share it. To them, it was worth repeating. And that's exactly what we're gonna talk about today. Stories that are worth repeating. But before we get into it, I want to tell you a quick story from my life that's been repeated a time or two over the years. So my cousin and my older brother have this great idea. There's this cornfield, and my older cousin swore that right through the middle of that cornfield would put us right at the house and we'd be home. So we're like, dude, you live here. You obviously know what you're talking about. Didn't. So we go through this cornfield, and not even 10 steps in, we're lost. We can't see road. All we see is yellow and green and stalks. Little brother's losing his mind because he's dragging a bike with a flat tire. I really had to go to the bathroom. And older brother is like, guys, keep it together. We gotta go this. I'm like, bro, you don't even live in Michigan. Like, what are you talking about? No, we made it back a little bit before nightfall. I've survived. We're here. It's fine. I'm over it. But that got me thinking, how many of you have actually been lost? Think about how that made you feel. It's scary, it's so frustrating, and maybe even a little embarrassing. Trust me, I know. When we lose sight of the final goal or destination, it's easy to feel lost. And when we find ourselves in unfamiliar surroundings or unexpected situations, it can be hard to figure out what to do next. And I'm not talking about just being physically lost. Sometimes we feel lost in other ways. Sometimes we feel lost emotionally or spiritually, even in the most familiar places. It could be at home, at church, at school. We can still feel completely and totally lost. So how do we know when we're lost emotionally or spiritually? Well, it's a lot like how we know we're lost physically. When we don't know how we got where we are, we're probably lost. When we aren't sure what we're doing or why we're doing it, we might be lost. When we feel alone or isolated or afraid, we're probably a little lost. And when we don't know what to do next to change the way things are, we may be feeling lost. That sense of feeling lost can happen for all kinds of different reasons. Maybe you feel lost because of a circumstance you're in. Your parents got divorced. Your boyfriend dumped you. Your family is moving to a new city. Now, you're in a situation you didn't expect to be in, and you aren't sure what to do. You might feel lost because of a choice you made, a decision you knew wasn't right. I'm not even gonna make any examples because I know you just thought of something. And because of it, you aren't sure what to do next. Maybe you feel lost because you think you're stuck where you are. You can't change the past or the present. You can't move forward and you can't make things different. Or maybe you feel lost because you think you're unseen or unnoticed or just unloved. Nobody seems to care what you do or how you feel, and that leaves you feeling more alone than ever. If we're honest, I think we'd all say we felt a little bit lost at some point in our lives. You might feel that way right now, and it probably feels a little hopeless, doesn't it? I mean, feeling lost can sometimes feel like being trapped. We don't know how we got there, so we don't exactly know how to get out, do we? At the end of the day, none of us wants to stay lost, but ultimately, we just aren't sure how to find our way back again. We aren't sure how to be not lost. Thankfully, the Bible tells us so many stories about people who felt lost and didn't know what to do about it. And one of the best things about Jesus is that he doesn't want anyone to stay lost, including you and me. One thing you might not know about Jesus is that he was a great storyteller. He used stories to help people better understand things about God. These stories are called parables. Jesus' parables often involved everyday scenarios that were familiar to his audience at the time. He would use them to change their way of thinking or show them something new about God. And trust me, these are definitely stories that are worth repeating. One of Jesus' followers, a guy named Luke, wrote down one of the parables that we're going to look at today. And it's a parable that changed people's views on what it meant to be lost. Okay, so the story starts like this. There's this guy who had 2 sons. And one day, the younger son told his dad that he wanted his share of his inheritance, which that's basically just the money from the family. Now, this may not seem like a big deal, but at the time, inheritances weren't passed down until the father was dead. So basically, this younger son was saying, I don't want to wait for you to die, Dad, so could you give me that money now? Surprisingly, the father decided to give in and let both his sons have their shares right then. The older son stayed put. He continued to work hard and took care of all his money like a good older brother. But all this newfound wealth was way more than the younger son could handle. He left his father's home, and as the Bible tells us, he spent all his money on wild living. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, but it sounds like it wasn't the wisest use of his inheritance. But then, a famine hit the land, which meant that there wasn't enough food for everyone. He got a job feeding pigs. Let me say that again. He got a job feeding pigs just to get by. Basically, this younger son went from living a wealthy and wild life to living a hardworking and sparse life. He let his greed get the better of him, and that got him off track. He had forgotten what was really most important in life, and in short, he was lost. Instead of staying where he was, the younger son decided to take a brave step. He went back to his father and asked him for a job working for him. Now, I'm gonna be honest. If this were me, there is no way I would be able to do this. I was afraid to tell my dad I failed a test. After I spent all the money I'd been given and gotten completely lost, I think I'd be afraid to go home and ask for help. I would be so afraid that my dad would be angry or hurt or even punish me for what I did, because that would just make sense, right? But that's not what happened at all. Let's take a look. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. Isn't that just crazy? This father was so happy his lost son had returned home that he embraced him with love. He didn't ask where he'd been or what he'd done. He simply accepted him back. The story goes on to say that the father decided to throw a huge party for the son, giving him some new clothes, the family ring, some new shoes, and a big feast to celebrate his return. Then he made this statement, "For the son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." That is so cool. Rather than focus on all the reasons that his son was lost, the father just simply celebrated the fact that he was found. That's amazing. Remember, we talked about how Jesus used parables to teach us about God? This one is no different. I think what this parable shows us is that God loves you even when you're lost. Though the younger son was totally lost, his father welcomed him home with nothing but love and acceptance. And God does the same for us. Think of it like this box. This here is our lost and found box. And there's some valuable stuff. There's some stuff in here, like this foam bowling ball. I bet whoever lost this was really upset when they couldn't find it. Or this bike helmet. Guys, safety first. Or Or maybe this coin purse, it's empty, but I bet this is really valuable to whoever lost it. Or this. Guys, we got a whole phone in here. Like in the back too, there's a driver's license, there's a credit card. Somebody's gonna need this. Or like just this whole phone, it's really nice. Is this anybody? I'm playing. And I don't know about you, but if I lost any of these things, I'd really, really miss them. I'd do anything possible to find them. And why? Because they're valuable and important to me, especially the phone and the credit card. And guys, that's exactly how God feels about us. See, God cares about us even when we're lost. He still loves us, and he's watching and waiting for us to come back. He doesn't expect us to get it all together before we come to him. He just wants us to turn to him for help. He wants to meet us where we are, and he wants his most valued treasures, us, to return to him because he loves us and misses us when we're lost. And when we return to God, he rejoices. It's just like when we find something that we've lost. We don't obsess over or worry about how the item got lost or where it was all this time. No, we're just happy to have found it. That's exactly how God feels when we return to him. This is what I want you to remember. God loves you even when you're lost. If you're feeling lost because of circumstances or choices, know that you don't have to stay there. God is waiting for you to turn back to him, to be received and loved just as you are. You don't have to get it all right. You just have to ask for his help as you go. And as this parable shows us, God loves us so much that anytime we feel lost, he'll be waiting for us with open arms. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, okay, Caleb, that's great and all, but I've never done anything to make me feel lost. I've made all the right choices, so why are we celebrating someone who maybe hasn't? Well, if that's you, let me say this. I've been there before. And so is another person in our story, the older brother. Remember him? He stayed behind with his father, worked hard, and did all the right things. But his younger brother, the one who did the exact opposite, is the one who ended up with the big party? That's so not cool. But what if the older brother was just as lost? I mean, sure, he didn't go out and squander his father's wealth, but he seemed more concerned about getting his father's blessing than he was about his actual relationship with his dad. He was obedient, but wrongly so, because he got angry that his obedience hadn't earned him a party. Plus, he didn't celebrate along with his dad when his brother came home. He lost sight of what was important, his relationship with his dad and loving his brother. And because of that, he needed God's love and acceptance just the same. I mean, we all do. We all need to know that no matter what we've done or how lost we feel in our hearts, God loves us even when we're lost. So the next time we're feeling lost, how can we remember the truth of this parable? How can we remember that we're loved by God no matter what? First, look around and recognize where you are. And I don't mean where you are right now, but where you are like spiritually, your relationship with God. Be honest about why you feel lost and how you got there. Determine what led you to feeling lost in the first place. Then, remember what God wants for you, to be found. He wants you to come home. He wants to be with you. He wants to love you just as you are. So find wisdom in the younger son's story that we just heard and receive God's love. Confess to him that you are lost. Be honest and be real about it. Then, let his love meet you right where you are. Finally, tell someone about where you are right now. While it's important to pray and be honest with God, it's also important for you to be honest with someone in your life. Someone like a trusted adult or small group leader. Inviting someone in isn't only a great step to helping you get back on the right path, but it's also a great way to avoid feeling lost right now. Remember, God loves you even when you're lost. God loves you so much, and He'll meet you wherever you're at in your life right now. So as you head out today, think about this question. What's one reason I might feel lost right now?